Everybody, I'm Logan Alec. I'm a CPA. I own Choice Tax Relief. We help folks who owe the IRS at least $10,000 in back tax debt. I recently made a video about how even if you owe $150,000, you can still get into a payment plan with the IRS, potentially without having to liquidate any of your assets, depending on the situation. And I think in that video, I used the example of someone who, they're living in their home and they might have hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity in their home. Would the IRS still agree to let them, pay off the $150,000 in tax debt in a payment plan rather than having to liquidate their home, even though they have more equity in their home than they owe the IRS? And the answer is yes. Oftentimes we negotiate this kind of thing day in and day out for our clients. She's Nuts asked though, hey, well, what if it was a more liquid asset, right? Than your primary residence, right? What if you have some liquid investments, like let's say stocks, easy example. And let's say you owed $150,000 to the IRS, but you have like $300,000 in stocks or a retirement account or something like that. Could you still avoid the liquidation of those assets, those liquid assets, converting them to cash, and still just get a payment plan for your entire balance with the IRS? And the answer, Cheese Nuts, is yes. Yes. Now this is a little tricky. This can be a little bit harder of a negotiation, because the IRS, it doesn't want the reputation of kicking people out of their houses and forcing them to sell their houses, even though it can do that. It has a legal right to do that. But with liquid investments, it's a bit harder of a negotiation. Generally, the older somebody is, the less other sources of income somebody has. But we make this argument day in and day out for retired folks. They may owe the IRS $100,000 or something like that. But they have $200,000 in, let's say, a retirement account, let's say a 401k or something from their working years. They get some income as well from Social Security. But we can make the argument like, well, look, based on their life expectancy here, based on Social Security Administration life expectancy tables, they're probably going to live to be 89 or, whatever the table says. Here's their monthly expenses. Social Security is only going to cover some of that, and we kind of estimate the cost of living adjustments as well. To live, they're going to need to tap into that $200,000 in their 401k. It would not be right for the IRS to make them, just completely liquidate that 401k, take all the cash out, etc., to pay off the IRS. Therefore, the IRS should agree to some other kind of resolution that does not demand a full liquidation of their retirement account that they're living off of. It's a harder argument to make if you're not living off that income, or you don't need that income to supplement other forms of income like Social Security or something. So generally, the younger somebody is, the harder an argument it is to make that they shouldn't have to liquidate their assets to pay off the IRS, right? We do, depending who's handling the case with the IRS, we can still negotiate those things, even for, young, able-bodied folks who have a lot of money in the stock market. They don't want to liquidate it. They just want to get on a payment plan with the IRS. That can be a little more difficult, but it's still very possible. Anything is possible. Cheese Nuts. And you don't know until you try. And what I've learned and my team has learned in representing, I guess it'd be thousands of taxpayers at this point before the IRS, is you want to go in aggressively. Don't do the IRS's work for them. I have had staff at Choice Tax Relief who are insistent on doing the IRS's work for them. My perspective is, no, you can't have that mindset here. That's not going to fly. We got to position ourselves and our client situation aggressively and let the IRS push back. And then we'll push back. And the IRS will push back. Don't do the IRS's work for them. Know what you want. Know what your clients want. And push for that as hard as you can. Nothing's a guarantee, right? When you're negotiating with the IRS, unless you owe less than $10,000, then you can get a guaranteed installment agreement. Other than that, nothing's guaranteed. Everything's a fight. Everything's a battle. But yeah, I hope that answered your question, Cheese Nuts. Like I said, my name's Logan Alec. I own Choice Tax Relief. If you owe the IRS at least $10,000 in back taxes, or your state, then you qualify for a free consultation with us. You can do that by calling 866-8000-TAX. That's 866-8000-829. Or by going to choicetaxrelief.com and filling out the form on our website. I have more content about IRS installment agreements at the side of the screen for your viewing pleasure and enjoyment. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.